Hey everybody, I hope you're doing well today. Well, welcome to the unit on measuring development. And how exactly do you do that? And one of the things that you got to get really comfortable with is that you can't really measure in an entirely conclusive way development. No more could you measure the development of a human being at different stages of its life. Can you measure accurately the development of a country at different stages of its life? But what we'll do is we're going to break things down and take a look at the ways in which at least economists try to do this. And the first thing is just to sort of lay out this idea of a poverty trap or a poverty cycle, sometimes referred to as a development trap. And we'll talk about that. This is basically how poverty leads to leads to more poverty generationally. It's quite sad, and it's quite logical, and it shows how difficult it is to get out of a poverty cycle or poverty trap. Then there are two main sections of this unit, right? The first one is these single indicators of development, and then these composite indicators of development. And inside the single indicators of development, we're going to look at financial ways of measuring development, health ways of managing development, educational ways of measuring development. And each one of these measures has these little tools they used: gross domestic product and gross national income, both of those things per capita. Health measures look at life expectancy at birth, infant mortality rate, and education measures look at adult literacy rates and net enrollment in primary education. So these are single indicators, and they're somewhat flawed. And as you've gotten to this point of your economics career, you realize why. So therefore, what do? They make composite indicators, and composite indicators, of course, are indicators that combine more than one of these single indicators, and those would be the Human Development Index. We'll take a look at the Gender Development Index, the Gender Empowerment Index, or Gender Empowerment Measure, and also the Human Poverty Index. And of course, anytime you see this word index, that means that it's taking more than one factor into consideration when coming up with usually a number. Okay, so these are the tools that we use to measure development. If you're not comfortable with the overall development section, in other words, if you have not gone on really in the most orders of the way in which course companions are put together, I would suggest that you move on from this video and take a look at the domestic factors of economic development, the international trade in economic development, foreign direct investment and economic development, and aid, debt, and economic development. Because with those things, you'll be able to understand what you're measuring. And I think it's easier to know what you're measuring before you understand how to measure it. And if you go into this unit right away without learning about the domestic factors or the international trade and its impact on development, or foreign direct investment and international development, you're not really going to understand what you're measuring. So that would be my suggestion to you. Either way you cut it up, of course, you've got to know this information, but I just think that is the more logical way of doing it. I mean, doesn't really run in line with the way in which most course companions for the IB curriculum anyway organize the development section. All right? I hope you found this video to be helpful, and we'll talk to you in a bit.